Well, what has happened today is that we got news that the police were at the morgue together with Zambian officials demanding that the body of the late president of the Republic of Zambia, President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, be released to them. The officials at the morgue did inquire from the officers that came through as to why they were there and why there was, they asked if at all there was any family member. They said there was no family member that was there with them, but they insisted that the body be released. The morgue, or the people at the morgue, insisted that there should be a family member, as what they knew is that at any given time, if any person was to have access to the body, or indeed um, take out the body, as in this case they did, the body, there should be a family member at least. Well, the insistence was way too much. The pressure until the body was got. We inquired from our lawyers as to what the issue was, and our lawyers have since come back to us, and they have advised that the Zambian government and themselves had agreed on a process, and that having agreed on that process, it appears there has been some form of sharp practice on the part of the government, in that they have adhered to what was agreed between ourselves and themselves as regards the timelines for filing, and may have misled the morgue, misled those that are at the morgue, that there has been a lapse in the appeal. Our lawyers insist that there is no lapse in the appeal because the appeal itself has not been heard, and we are waiting to hear what exactly the next steps that will be taken. For now, the body has been moved from the morgue to an unknown destination by the police and the Zambian officials, and we are waiting to know where exactly the body has been. That is what we have for now.
Government is claiming that the appeal by the family has lapsed. Is that true? Speak to that issue.
Well, the information we have from our lawyers is that the appeal has not lapsed. It was for the government to respond to the arguments that we had filed in court, and they have not responded to those. We yet to find out why they have taken this particular route. But as far as we're concerned, the appeal has not lapsed. We have also come across news to the effect that there has been an agreement between the government. There was a meeting between the government of Zambia and the family, as well as the South African government. That's false. There hasn't been any formal agreement at any given time as to the repatriation of the remains. What has been done has been the pursuit of the matter in the Supreme Court actively. But on the sidelines, you may be aware that the government, in its effort to access the body, had embarked on that inquest. The inquest was heard on the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd of last month, of May, no, not May, just this
March.
last month of March, as it were. Yes, on it should be 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of March. The matter came up. Some aspects of the arguments that were in court was the government had sought to subpoena the Two Mountains, the monk, to give the body to the state or to the South African police for purposes of a postmortem, on false allegations that President Edgar Chagwa Lungu had been poisoned. They alleged that the information was given to the state, or rather given to the state by the family, by Honorable Mdubile, and by Honorable Nakachinda, which matters have not been proven. Those were false allegations, and on the basis of false allegations, they asked for the DNA of Tarsila, asked for the for the DNA, to extract the DNA from the body, but the magistrate court wondered whether that was tenable when the matter was brought up. Our lawyers went to court and they did submit to say it is not possible that a lower court could give an order that supersedes the order of a higher court. And the higher court in this case was the High Court that said the body cannot be accessed by anyone unless accompanied or authorized by the family. So we have seen this push and pull in the background. And today, we don't know what, and we're yet to find out. Our lawyers will update us in no time as to how exactly this was done. But the falsities that are going around to the effect that there was an agreement by the family together with the government of South Africa and of Zambia are just not true. And firstly, right from the start of this matter, there has been this insatiable appetite by the state to access the body. We have been treated to a lot of propaganda such that at this point, Zambians were asking questions, or at least they wanted Zambians to ask questions as to whether President Edgar Chagwa Lungu really died. We saw the machinery, the propaganda machinery going on around, suggesting that he hadn't died. And all that was because the government had not had access to the body. You further saw how that there was propaganda on the part of government using non-affiliates of the current government's party, suggesting that the family had already buried the former president. All this was in an effort to force a response from the family, to keep clarifying as they embedded the doubt as to the whereabouts of the body. The truth is, they did not know where exactly the body was, and they made all these frantic attempts. That led to them instituting a false claim in the Randburg court, suggesting that President Chagwa Lungu had been killed, or indeed had been poisoned. The allegations were absolutely false, because the very article that suggested that President Edgar Lungu, that came out in the Star newspaper, was paid for by the Zambian government. It was a paid for commercial article on the basis on which they engaged a Mr. Sibindi, a private investigator, to investigate this matter based on a false article. And it is on that basis that they subpoenaed the doctors. They subpoenaed Honorable Tasila Lungu. They subpoenaed Honorable Nakachinda to testify in court as to whether, that is in the inquest, as to the cause of death of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Gave a suggestion or as to what the death was. We made to the government all the documents that related to the death of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. But this insatiable appetite to access the body continued. That is as regards the matter that was in the Randburg court. That matter has
the matter in the Randburg court.
20th of May.
Just a minute, Honorable Makebi Zulu. The matter in the Randburg court, what was the conclusion?
The inquest adjourned to the 20th of May, meaning that the body has to remain in South Africa. The body should remain in South Africa. The body will remain in South Africa until that is determined. Because what is now at play was the subpoena that was submitted to Two Mountains to say they should make available the body to the police for purposes of a postmortem. Two Mountains could not release the body because they said, we have an order of a higher court that says we can't release the body to anyone for any purpose unless with the consent of the family. And they addressed the court to say, this is a criminal matter, and as such, the order can be issued. The magistrate was of the view that, notwithstanding that the criminal investigation was there and there was a civil order, the very fact that the court ranked the same, it meant that the court was not able to grant them that order and asked that they make submissions. They insisted on making submissions. The state is to make submissions in that case as to why the order should be given. Then the respondents as well, or those that are interested in the matter, are also to respond. Two Mountains is to respond as to why that order cannot be granted, because it's very clear a lower court cannot issue an order that supersedes that of a higher court. The state was advised to go to the High Court or indeed to the Supreme Court and ask for a variation of that order for them to access the body if at all they still were inclined to think that the cause of death was not a natural one, as it were.
Thank you.
So that is what has been going on.
Let's go
for
to
now.
Let's go to the matter in the Supreme Court, because government is using that as an excuse to have executed this matter, to pick the body and take it wherever they've taken it. Government claims that the appeal that the family was supposed to do in the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein has not happened. They are using the word lapsed, that the process has lapsed, and therefore they are relying on the matter in the High Court where government won to pick, repatriate and bury the late president. What do you say about this process that they are saying has lapsed in the Court of Appeal?
Well, the information I've just received from the lawyers suggests that the parties had agreed on the process that was to be taken out. And that agreement, they were notifying each other as to when exactly the filings would be done. The record of appeal was filed and the arguments were filed. The arguments were filed in accordance with the agreement that was there between the parties, which is common practice in the South African courts. Now the state, the government of Zambia was to respond to the arguments. You've seen on their propaganda machinery or indeed their tabloids, stating that the family had since filed the arguments, though they called the arguments lame, they had since filed the arguments. Now it was for the state to file their arguments. We do not know whether it's because the state has failed to respond to the critical issues that were raised in the submissions that they've resorted to moving in this direction, as though there was no agreement between the parties, and suggest that the appeal lapsed when in fact not. We intend to pursue this matter to its logical conclusion, because you can't necessarily say the appeal has lapsed when the parties agreed on the timelines, and that is common practice amongst the lawyers, and the lawyers cannot go behind and say and pretend as though there was no such agreement to foster or to be able to come to this point where they're saying that the appeal has lapsed. The appeal has not lapsed. The appeal is subsisting. Everything that the family needed to do in terms of filing the record of appeal and filing the arguments has been done. We have not seen the arguments by the state. We have not seen the arguments by the state.
The last time the two parties came together, you and Patrick Kangwa, a few months ago, you informed the country that there were two mediators, that the process was going to be surrendered to two mediators. The family picked Archbishop Alec Banda, and the state picked Bishop Joshua Banda, Professor Bishop Joshua Banda of North Mid Assemblies of God and Pentecostal Assemblies of God president. What has happened to that process?
That process has failed. It has failed because the moment we made it known that the family preferred using Archbishop Alec Banda, the government was in top gear going against Archbishop Alec Banda. And at this point, Archbishop Alec Banda has since withdrawn from the process. At least, not necessarily withdrawn, but he has since, because we were talking to him and wanting him to be part of this wanting him to be part of this process. The state was talking to, started victimizing him, and he says, listen, you may want me to be part of this process, but I'm disinclined to be part of this process because of all this that is going on, and didn't want to be misunderstood in the whole process. So he refused to be part of this, and that left us without a mediator on our part. And there are no such talks. There was no agreement that was made last week. The President Bakili Muluzi withdrew from this process, and obviously, if I was President Bakili Muluzi, I would also remove myself from such a process where every time we're close to an agreement, the party that is on the other side keeps shifting and changing goalposts. Obviously, I also wouldn't want to be made to look like a liar. So it is perfectly understandable that he withdrew from the whole process. The family has always been desirous to come to a logical conclusion as regards this particular matter, has always been reasonable to engage in discussions. The problem has always been on the part of government. And obviously, at this point, all speculations that the family may have had may be proven to be true. They may conclude that the speculations are true as regards the insatiable appetite to access the body, because no one does such a thing. Even assuming that indeed the appeal had lapsed, even assuming that the appeal had lapsed and they were going to follow the judgment of August 2025, they should have followed that judgment to the very letter, which said that the body was to be accompanied by the ADC. Where is the ADC? Why didn't they ask for the ADC to be there? Why didn't they ask for the family to be there? Why didn't they use the office of the sheriff to access the body to make a demand? And after making the demand, the family is notified and the body is taken with the consent of the family. Has been done is as good as stealing the body, or indeed in contempt of the order that was given by the court. Those are the things that are at play right now. And no one should have to suffer in life and in death in the manner that President Edgar Chagwa Lungu is suffering. You've
just let
humane in our approach to these issues. We need to understand that it is not about the government. How is the family feeling at this particular time? How do you take away what belongs to the family? Even assuming that you are legally right, where are the morals that you ought to have? Where is that empathy that you ought to feel for the family? Do you know what Madam Esther Lungu has gone through the last 10 months? Do you know what the family has gone through the last 10 months? All they are asking for is something that is really simple, a dignified burial. And they've defined a dignified burial that, listen, honor his wishes, and you also have to honor our wishes. If only people could be sincere, if only people could not look at this as a contest that you have to win by all means necessary, even when you may be said to be legally right. Consider the family. Be empathetic. Feel for them. Feel with them. Talk to them. This should never happen to any person. This should not even be wished on your worst enemy. This goes to the very heart and soul of our humanity. We need to stand with the Lungu family. We need to help them heal. There will be no healing for them in this manner. There will be no healing if the government is going to force itself into this matter. The government needs to look at the family. Look at how they are feeling. This person was never and should not be treated as though he was the government trophy. Yes, he saved the Republic of Zambia, but he did not give up his right to a family. Neither did the family give up their rights to their father, to their brother, to their husband. They never gave up all those rights. Why can't we respect those things? Why can't we respect the Lungu family? Why can't we stand with them? They've suffered enough. They've been victims of propaganda. You've said of them, they have millions of dollars in South Africa, when they do not have any of those things. You said of them, they have vehicles. You've said of them, they have been, President Edgar Lungu was shot. President Edgar Lungu was dealing in drugs. All those lies have been said of them, but the family kept quiet, seeking only for one thing and one thing alone, a dignified send-off. You don't have to agree with them as to what a dignified send-off is. You have to empathize with them. They may be right, or indeed they may be wrong, but have a heart for them. Feel for them. Reach out to them. Don't politicize the death of Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Don't bring in the family into the policy of the government, or the need to show power. This is not a contest of power. Let's have a heart. Let's be humane in the manner in which we treat people. I do not want to be misunderstood in this matter. Like I stated right from the start, I'm not acting as a lawyer in this matter. And to make things very clear, in this matter, I'm spokesperson of the family. I'm not just spokesperson of the family in this matter. I was also sued. I'm a party to the proceedings in this matter. You will see that my name appears as the last one on the list in this matter. Now, all those things that you've talked about as regards how, if we assume that we're going to follow the High Court judgment, you saw how that the High Court judgment said the ADC must be present, the family must be present. Those circumstances, the sheriff is the one who's directed to get to Two Mountains. In this case, it's not even the sheriff that is at Two Mountains. It's the police, the very police that were being used to investigate that false allegation, are the very police that are showing up at Two Mountains. All this connivance, all this manipulation of processes that has been going on, intended only to humiliate the Lungu family, should never be allowed in a society such as ours. I would love to go on and discuss more as regards this matter, but I really have to go because I have an engagement right about now, an update from the other side. But should need be, I'll certainly come back. Well, yes, I did indicate that I was getting a further update. I'm glad to inform you that the Supreme Court has just given us a stay. The government of Zambia and the government of South Africa have been ordered to take back the body to Two Mountains. And further, there has been an order for them to show cause as to why they should not be cited for contempt. We will be making available that court order to you, and so that the Zambians may know. That is where we are right now. And the Supreme Court has just finished their hearing and granted the order.
Okay, thank you very much.